Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video I will show you how to show a list of tasks using app shortcuts with app intent in native iOS application by adding parameters. So let's get started. So firstly I will show you what exactly I mean. I have done a couple of videos on app shortcuts using app intent. If you haven't watched that, do watch that. Because this is much more advanced tutorial. So here I have one table view. There is no data inside our table view. I have this add button. If I click on that add button, I can enter something. I'll click on OK, and here you can see it is displaying it inside my table view. Now I will completely close this. Okay, I will go to my shortcuts app. I will search for my app. Here you can see it is already showing dice roll. This is the name of my app. If I click on add task, here you can see it is telling me to select a task. Now this is what I'm talking about. Previously in my previous tutorial I was just adding some task name, random task name, or asking input from the user. I was displaying a text field inside the shortcut, inside my shortcut, but here I'm showing a list or parameters, and I can select whatever I want. So I will just select wake up early, and it has added. Now this is also custom UI. For this I have created a separate video, so if you are curious you can watch that. I can click on done, and it has added that. Again, if you have not closed the app completely, make sure you close it and reopen it. Otherwise you might not see the data, because I am fetching the data inside view did load and not view will appear. So you can handle that logic by yourself. Again, I'll close the app completely and I'll show it to you via Siri as well. So let me first quickly check my Siri phrases, what phrases I have given. So add task to my app name. Okay, so I'll just open Siri. Add task to dice roll. So here you can see that I have selected walk the dog. So I'll just open, and here you can see it has also added walk the dog. So hopefully you got the point. Let's see how to do this. So first I will try to explain as much as detail as can. So firstly I've created UI kit, but if you want you can do this completely fine by Swift UI as well. In fact, with Swift UI it would be much more easier for you, because I'm using Swift data as well, and this app intent is a Swift UI first framework, but I have made it to work with UI kit because I still like UI kit. And here you can see we have this. Firstly you will see this view controller, right? You have to embed it inside a navigation controller, because I want to display this add button which you see at the very top. So for that, what you can do, just select this particular thing, editor, embed in navigation controller, and you will see this particular thing. Once you see that, here is our view controller. So I have imported Swift data. I have created UI table view delegate as well as data source. This is our table view. This is the data service singleton. This is area of to do model. I have set the delegate and data source as well as called register. I have added table view to our view. I have set some NS layout constraints to our table view as well. Then we just call configure UI as well as fetch data. Inside configure UI I am just creating one add button, and on click of it this particular method gets called. So whatever the user has entered inside the task name, we just call save task and refetch the data. Okay, so this is how we are fetching the data. So we are removing everything from our array. We call this fetch task, then we assign it to our task. This for loop is useless. It was just part of my debugging, and here we just reload our table view. Here we are overriding this table view method. So here how we are displaying each and every cell and assigning text to each and every cell. Here we return the number of rows inside our table view, and here this is for update and delete swipe. Again, if you want you can have it. So if I just show it to you, if I swipe it, here you can see this is update and delete. Again, I'm not really using it, but yeah, if you want you can use this particular code. Then this is how the data inside our Swift data looks like. So it has an ID, task name and time. ID and time are pre-populated whenever you create a task. So only what I require is the task name. So here as you can see, this is how we create it. Then this is the task logged view. So the view which you saw whenever a task was added, it takes a task increment. I will come back to this later on, but here you can see this is how we create that particular view using Swift UI. Okay, I'll come back to this later on. I'll just close everything else. Then this is our singleton database. service for performing CRUD operation inside Swift data. So this is how we create a singleton. This is our container and context. Here this is how we initialize it. Okay, this is like boilerplate code, and this is for saving the task inside our Swift data database. This is for fetching task from our Swift data database. This is for updating the task, and this is for deleting the task as well. Okay, so hopefully you got all this point. Yeah, this is all the code for it. Then this is core cell, how each cell of our table view looks like. So here I have taken a UI label, set some font, added it to content view, set some NS layout constraints as well. Then coming back to add task shortcut intent. So here we extend from app intent. This is our title. So in my previous video I was using something like this, like simple string, but I can't use string anymore. I have to use something called task entity. Again, I'll come back what exactly is a task entity later on. And then we have to call this perform operation. Make sure if you are displaying your own custom UI, you also use this show snippet view. If you are not using your own custom UI, you can ignore this. So if you remember, in my previous tutorial, adding a task was as simple as this, but given that here we are displaying a list, it's pretty little complicated. So here is our service, here is our entity. Then I am checking whether we have this task entity or not, which the user will pick from our list. If yes, then just save it to our database and assign it to our entity as well. If not, here comes the confusion part. Even I am really confused what exactly this means. Here we go through this task increment. Again, I'll show you this task increment later on, but I couldn't really understand what this request disambiguation really mean. I mean, this is mostly when a user does not pick a task, but yeah, again, I'm not really sure what exactly does it do. But again, here basically we are again later on saving it to task, but we require this anyways. Then here we get the name. I just pass it to our dialog so that our dialog is also little dynamic. And here inside our task logged view, which I show you our Swift UI view, here you can see we are passing this task increment. So if you remember task logged view, we are passing this particular thing. Okay, so this is app shortcut intent. Then this add task series shortcut. Again, here we just extend this update shortcut parameter. This is important. Suppose if you add new phrases later on and the user has already installed your application, you want to update the shortcut parameters, that's why you have to add this particular thing as well. And here these are all the things which the user can say to Siri. Again, this task entity comes from this particular thing, from app task shortcut intent. Yeah, that's what I have shown you. Now okay, now there are few extra files which you have to create. So firstly, I have created this new files folder. You don't have to do that. This was just part of my understanding. So firstly, let me check. I have written down some steps. Firstly, we have to create task entity. So again, here you can see it extends from app entity. Give it some type display representation. I have given it an ID as well as a name. Okay, and this again is a boilerplate code which you can just copy paste it. Don't worry too much about it. This is our task increment, and here you can see it is an enum. So these are the 3 tasks which I have listed down inside my app shortcut, and I have given some ID to it. So depending on that, I'm returning these all things, and I'm also returning the color. So depending on which task you have selected, my Swift UI view which I was showing, that would be also changed a little bit. Okay, then here you can see we are getting the task increment. It takes an ID, and if we couldn't find anything, I'm just returning wake up early task, and here we are returning the increment. Here we also have to create this task query. So I have created that particular thing over here. So it is an entity query. Here we have to override these 2 methods. Again, the code for this is basically the same. If you want, you can create an helper method for that as well. So yeah, again, I really didn't understand much of this because I just copied it from the WWDC session, but yeah, this is how we basically created, and then it was used over here. So basically over here, task entity and this task increment, task entity, all that stuff, as well as over here. So hopefully you got the point. Even I am little confused about how exactly all the flow works, but yeah, this is how we do it. Depending on what your to-do model is, you can change it to however you feel like, but yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.